Hey guys, this is Irie Starcraft, and I'm going to be casting a 3v3 match for you, and this one will be on Dig Site. And the players will be the red Protoss Takamine, and his teammates will be the teal Protoss Panzer and the blue Protoss metalspyder, so a triple Protoss team on the bottom. Their opponents will be Sarge, the yellow Terran, his teammate Blackout, the purple Zerg, and their teammate BoBoForce, the orange Protoss. So I know we have seen this threesome once before, and it was a pleasure to cast. That game was sent to me by BoBoForce, and I will spill the beans for you early this time. BoBoForce did send me this game as well, and I'm really looking forward to casting it. It's going to be super fun and awesome. And interesting that these three players, not only are they the same race as the last game, they are also the same colors, so that should help me make less mistakes as I am calling this game for you guys. But I love big games, 3v3s, 4v4s, so I'm looking forward to this game. The last game that I cast between these guys, it was on Monsoon, and they did a timing push that was very effective. What they did was Sarge and Blackout combined a Marine Marauder ball with some roaches from Blackout, and they attacked one player's base, and BoBoForce actually got a warp prism, and he waited until the opponent vacated his base to help his partners, and he warped in and dropped off a bunch of units in the other base. So it was a timed two-prong attack that was very effective. We'll see if they go for a similar strategy this game. BoBoForce actually getting 2 gateways down. So not a standard play there. Usually I'm used to seeing a gateway, cybernetics core, and then more gateways. So 2 gateways coming first. We're probably going to see a bunch of zealots coming out early for BoBoForce. The same thing actually for Takamine is getting 2 gateways as well. So those players definitely going to be getting some zealots out. Even metalspyder getting 2 gateways. And then Panzer is getting a forge. So interesting there. I'm wondering if he's going to try and beef up the front of his base a little bit, because he did get an early forge, and I don't see any kind of cannoning or proxy play going on from the teal player. So it looks like he is going to be getting a defensive cannon down there, and probably well, he still is not even started on gas, so we will see what Panzer decides to do as this game gets going. But a bunch of zealots out for metalspyder. Takamine making some more zealots of his own. BoBoForce with 2 that are just now coming out. So metalspyder really going with the zealot rush. He's actually going to push out right now, possibly to test the Terran front. Sarge, though, just finishing his tech lab. He has walled off the front of his base. Looks like Takamine is going to come along to assist, and are we going to see him throw a proxy pylon down here? We are, but Blackout with his Overlord placed nicely placed there will see that proxy pylon, so they will be aware of the early press. So here we go, 3 zealots of metalspyder to 2 zealots, make it 3 for BoBoForce. It's going to come down to some micro right here. Need to try and keep these zealots alive as long as possible. You see BoBoForce trying to save that one zealot. Now another zealot will go down, but another zealot being pumped out just in time. Panzer, though, has zealots of his own to try and break BoBoForce. Now there are a bunch of zealots in his base. He is in a lot of trouble. They are going for these gateways. Possibly should be thinking about splitting up here. Looks like now metalspyder is going to try and take this pylon now, and Takamine now going to do the same thing, try and unpower these buildings. Sarge is desperately trying to send in some Marine to support. Blackout has 1 roach, and he had a spine crawler. I'm not sure if he let that finish or if he canceled that, but they are in a lot of trouble as BoBoForce's buildings have all been unpowered, and he is running his probes away. I'm not sure, is he going to try and run these probes all the way out of the base? He is trying to run away from these zealots right now and buy some time for his teammates to try and help his base. The probes now going to double back through the zealots. A lot of probes getting taken down there. But what he is doing is forcing these zealots to run around chasing these probes, and so they are not able to kill the base. So now it looks like Takamine going to realize that that is futile chasing these probes around. They are delaying that mining, but at the same time allowing time for Blackout to get a bunch of roaches out, which he has now. And with all these roaches, these probes are going to be able to safely return. Need to quickly throw down a pylon to repower these buildings. Looks like BoBoForce will be doing that here, as Blackout now is going to try and chase these zealots down, and they are going to be cornered here, so these zealots will fall to Blackout's roaches. Meanwhile, Sarge is continuing to mass up Marines and Marauders. Those are going to press out now. It looks like actually just pulling up to defend the front there, as Blackout getting some free kills on these zealots, running as far away as they can to force the roaches to chase them all the way out there, delay any kind of press. So now Panzer actually just finally starting to get that warp gate after he went for the forge, and now 4 gateways out for Takamine and a robotics facility, and metalspyder with a standard. He's got 4 gateways out here, a few stalkers and a sentry. And now Blackout and Sarge are going to make a press. They looks like they do have a superior army size. Let's check the army lost. BoBoForce in furthest behind, as you saw all those probes died that he had, and those pylons going down. But it looks like Blackout and Sarge are going to come right at Teal's base. Teal Panzer does know about this, but his army size much inferior. metalspyder and Takamine are coming up to reinforce this, so this is going to be a pretty close fight here. A pretty nice force field right there, forcing all these units to run all the way around, while the stalkers just fire away. The stim finally going off now for Sarge, and he's scooting up, going to try and focus down as many of these stalkers as he can. Blackout continuing to press with the roaches from behind. More and more reinforcements are streaming in from Sarge and Blackout, while BoBoForce tries to rebuild. He is throwing down a couple of cannons, it looks like, at his front. Meanwhile, BoBoForce is to beef that up and protect that base, but Sarge and Blackout are just chasing the Protoss armies back and forth, maybe going to take out these pylons now in the front, doing as much damage as they possibly can. If they ganged up and went on one base, they might be able to do some more damage, but they would end up getting cornered and their armies would probably fall from the reinforcements. So always a tough position to be in when you're out in front of the base. You want to just try and delay any kind of expansions as long as possible, as you see them running back and forth out here in the front, being chased on both sides by stalkers. Sarge actually stimming up there, going to take out one of these stalkers, it looks like, with that Marauder slow, keeping it in the back. Blackout with a few Zerglings now running up behind the stalkers to trap them. All those stalkers go down, so a lot of units lost there by Teal. That was a huge play right there, bringing in those Zerglings. Even though they don't have metabolic boost, it is almost finished. And now they are just getting torn up by the Zealots, though, as these roaches desperately need to run away because the armies are streaming out. Takamine now has a Colossus on the field, starting to fry these roaches, and all the roaches will die. And will we see a counterattack? BoBoForce has gotten himself back into the game. He does have one immortal out and continuing to make immortals. Because there are so many stalkers out here, those will be a very strong unit, as Blackout does have his speed finished now. He has a couple of spine crawlers back in here, a little bit maybe unnecessary there, but there was a point at the beginning of this game where he was very vulnerable, so he did need to throw those down. And now, just now, going to be trying to get his expansion, it looks like, as he's going to be using these speedlings to delay this attack. There are a lot of units coming up, a pretty powerful army right now. And which base are they going to go for? It looks like the Zerg base. The Zealots getting a nice spread and ripping up those Zerglings, forced to run away. So it looks like the Protoss armies are going to split here. No, they're not going to split. These photon cannons actually creating a choke there. The Mortal's just now able to get out. A couple of sentries in the front. So meanwhile, Takamine and Panzer and metalspyder are pressing the Zerg base. Blackout is in a ton of trouble. BoBoForce has 3 immortals, needs to be focusing down these units as best he can. Possibly overextending, trying to chase down and kill this Colossus. Finally does go down with Sarge's reinforcements. A bunch of Marines and Marauders and a couple of siege tanks here are going to force this attack back. So nicely defended there by the top team, because I was worried there for a minute. That was a large force from the Protoss armies, but as you saw, what they did is perhaps overextended themselves a little bit. Something to think about on a map like this, where the players all have ramps that lead out together. If you can just control, it's a much safer play to stay out here and delay expansions than to press into somebody's base when your army size is not overwhelming, because they went up the ramp, they tried to take out the Zerg player, they got trapped by his 2 teammates, and the entire army got annihilated. So as opposed to what Sarge and Blackout did when they counterattacked, they just tried to delay expansions as long as possible. Now going to be sieging up these siege tanks here. These stalkers are in a lot of trouble. As you see, metalspyder giving the back call accidentally in all chat. And there goes that Nexus. The siege tank's too powerful to break right now for the bottom team. So everybody is really struggling in the expansion department right now. Nobody's able to really get one up. Takamine is going to try now to get this safe expansion down here in the middle up. And are we going to see Sarge and Blackout take these tanks out of siege mode and press the issue as more Immortals are coming for BoBoForce? And now even some Dark Templars for BoBoForce, so those could come into play here if the bottom team is not aware that they're in the army. They could end up doing a lot of damage. And now the siege tanks are sieged and firing away here. The Zealots doing a lot of damage on the front line of Sarge. And just now Takamine starting to press up with this Colossus. All the Marines and Marauders are falling, but these Marauders, or these Immortals, excuse me, in the back for BoBoForce are doing a lot of damage. Need to be focusing on the Stalkers though. This Colossi on the high ground is just tearing up these siege tanks. So that entire attack will be thwarted, as the nice placement from that Colossus by Takamine was the difference right there. And the Dark Templars, though, for BoBoForce have run all the way into Takamine's mineral line, and the probes are getting one shot.